The third chakra deals with your ego, your power, your control. And it is this chakra is also very important. If this chakra is very weak, then you cannot manifest what you want in life. So this is your power center. It is through your power you can do what you want to do on the planet Earth. We all come to Earth to do many things, to express many things, to learn many things. Our experiences are very, very important. So the third chakra plays an important role when it comes to your power, your efficiency, your work, your ego. And this function of this chakra is how you see this world. What is your view of the world? While the second chakra deals with how you perceive yourself through the feeling center, how you feel about you, that is second chakra, how you see the world, that is third chakra. So if you don't have a healthy self, if you don't have a self-esteem, good self-esteem, then what you see through that, what you see the world will be totally different because you don't have a self-esteem. And the world will reflect you. It's like a mirror. If you have a self-esteem, healthy self-esteem, then the world will reflect you. So this is what the people use the the term mirror reflection. Or in other words, frequency attracts frequency. So what prevents you from having a healthy self is the shame energy. You see, the second chakra is the energy you condemn yourself. You think bad about yourself. You regret too much. So it manifests as guilt. Now, with this third chakra, it deals with the outer world. While the second chakra deals with your inner world, the third chakra deals with your outer world. And the energy, the demon for this third chakra is the shame energy. And the opposite of shame is respect. Again, when I say respect, the respect is not something you get from the outside world. Respect means always self-respect. Respect comes from within you, not from outside. But the people who are imbalanced in the third chakra, they think the respect comes from outside. So they chase the respect from outside. But the truth is, your respect is within you. Your respect comes from a healthy self-esteem. So to have a healthy self-esteem, it is very important. You need to feel good about yourself. So your second chakra should be in balance. Then only your third chakra can be in balance. So that's how the first is related to the second is related to the third. Now, some of the traumas and abuses during their childhood is authoritarian parenting style. The parents are very not loving and they're authoritarian in the name of discipline. Then the self-esteem of the child is broken. If the child can swing in either way, if it is in the deficient, then the child becomes a follower. He cannot have his own spine, he cannot have his own say. He simply follows another person. He's like a sheep following the crowd. But if it goes the other way, extreme, it becomes excessive, then he becomes a rebel. And also the punishment, physical punishment. Physical punishments, oral punishments, insults, without proper explanation, the parents simply punish. The child's self-esteem goes into a total damage. And criticism, criticism from the teachers, from the relatives, from the parents, and from the fellow students, finger pointing, name calling, and comparisons. Anytime you compare your child with another child, understand that you are damaging the self-esteem of the child. Name calling, like, you are worthless, you are lazy, you are dumb, you are bad. All this name calling, criticism, finger pointing, it's all because of you. You are not worthy. You cannot succeed. When you grow up, you will be a failure. So with these kind of statements, criticism, name calling damages the self-respect, self-esteem of the child. And also, uh, as I said, the punishment is not only the physical, even oral punishments, emotional frustration, rage, and trauma. Everything affects the child's self-esteem. And neglect, if the parent is more interested in their own work, or the parents are more interested in their electronic gadgets or watching TVs, watching iPhones, iPads, movies, rather than connecting to the soul of the child, rather than spending quality time with the child. If the child feels neglect, then it affects the self-esteem of the child. And favoritism, the children can easily pick up. If suppose if you have 2 3 children and the parents prefer one child over another because that particular child is doing good at studies, so if they show any kind of favoritism, that also affects the self-esteem. So the child starts thinking that I'm not worthy enough, and that's why my parents like my sister more, or my parents like my brother more. They don't love me because I'm not worthy. So this favoritism creates this lack of self-worth getting internalized. And also conditional love. Conditional love means reward and punishment system. Sometimes parents, because we cannot blame the parents. They are victims of their own past. Their intentions are good, but how they handle is not correct. They go with the reward and punishment system. If you do well in the exams, we will love you, we will buy you whatever you want. But if you're not performing well in the exam, then don't speak to us. Or will not buy you a bicycle, will not buy you the favorite gadget you asked for. So this is a reward and punishment system. So this becomes very conditional. So this child starts thinking, okay, I'm not good enough to have my parents' love. So I'm not good at studies. So maybe I'm not worthy enough to receive love. Again, the self-judgment starts. Okay. So we spoke about the sexual abuse in the second chakra. And again, in the third chakra also, it's very important because the sexual abuse not only for a child, for a teenager, even for an adult, any kind of sexual abuse traumatizes and your self-esteem is at stake. If you're an adult, at least you have a certain maturity to understand, that it is not your fault. But as a child, it is very traumatic, and this child starts internalizing that I'm not worthy, and that's why I have to go through all those things. And self-esteem simply means like the inner voice. The inner voice, I can't do it. I'm not worthy. Nobody loves me. I'm not good enough. I must be perfect in order to receive the love from the parents, in order to receive the affection from others. I must be perfect. I must not make a mistake. So all these internal dialogues destroys the self-esteem of the child. And some of the unbalanced behavior patterns, if it is in excessive, then they get into superior complex. If the third chakra is in excessive, they have a superior complex. If the third chakra is deficient, they have inferior complex, but both are complex. Inferiority is also a complex, superiority is also a complex. So, some of the qualities of the people who have excessive third chakra is they are dominating, controlling, and overly aggressive. They need to be right, and they always have the last say. They always want to have the last say. So they want to be acknowledged as the leaders in the group. They don't give space for others. They want to be the leaders. And they are very stubborn, arrogance. And these people, they chase the external achievements like job and promotions and salaries and car and bungalows. And they like to show off because they feel that with these external accomplishments, they get respect from the people. And naturally, they become competitive. For their success, they don't mind destroying career of their colleagues or other people. They're insensitive. Their focus is they need to be number one. So instead of collaborating, they always are competitive. And naturally, they end up in manipulation. So by default, they become manipulative. So this is all superior complex behaviors. And the inferior complex is their willpower is very, very weak. They have a very weak self-confidence and they have very poor discipline. And they always follow. They can never be the leaders. They are willing to be the followers. And they avoid responsibility and they always blame others. Instead of taking responsibility, they always blame others. If you see somebody not taking responsibility for any of their actions and they are blaming others, that means they have an inferior complex. And majority of the people on the planet Earth, they suffer with inferiority complex. So like 80% of the people, they have inferiority complex and another 20% superiority complex among the unbalanced behavior people. So they become the people pleasers. Like they keep buttering so that their position is safe. They keep buttering their superiors. They want to please the people so that they are in good books. They don't have the spine, they don't have the guts to stand up and speak what they want. And these people, they are easily manipulated by others, and they always hold a victim personality. And these people, they have this passive aggressive behavior pattern. Passive aggressive means because they don't have the guts to say that they don't want. So they passively do the mischief things. For example, if a husband is superior complex, naturally, so this is an interesting relationship in the third chakra. All the superior complex people, they attract inferior complex people in their life. And all the inferior complex people, they attract superior complex people. The narcissist will attract an empath will attract a narcissist. Whether it is in your marriage relationship or in your family relationship or in your colleagues, you can always see that, if you're excessive, if your third chakra excessive, then you always would like to have people around you who are having inferior complex. If you're a superior complex person, then you always like to be among the inferior complex people. And if you're an inferior complex person, you naturally attract the superior complex person. And this passive aggressive behavior is, suppose a superior person dominates and controls, an inferior person cannot speak up because he doesn't have the willpower to stand up. So they will do the passive aggressive behavior. For example, the husband scolds the wife. So the wife cannot scold the husband back. So what the wife will do, the wife will show this passive aggressive behavior in the cooking. So that day she will not cook the food according to the taste of the husband. She will deliberately make sure that she's adding more salt or more chili, more spices. In that way, she's passively aggressive. She's showing her frustration. Or suppose if the husband wants to go out for a meeting or for a party or for a function, and if he would have dominated the wife passive aggressive behavior would be to purposefully get delayed to reach that function. Or if it is an office environment, the boss asks the colleague, the subordinate, to do certain work to prepare a reports. And if it is too much for the employee, for the subordinate to do it, but he cannot or she cannot speak up, then what she will do? She will, make some mistakes in the report. And then she will have an excuse. Oh, because the time is very short, because you pressured me, and that's why I prepared. So she will show her passive aggressive by not doing the work properly. So that is passive aggressive behavior. So balanced behavior patterns are, instead of choosing the soul, instead of choosing the ego path, you always chose the soul path. What is an ego path and what is a soul path? Your ego path is based on your ignorance and arrogance. Your soul path is based on understanding. So how you see the world, you have a choice to see the world. Your world is your inner reflection. You can feel frustrated about what is happening around the world, or you can have a compassionate understanding of what is happening around the world. So your view changes according to your own power center. And some of the balanced characteristics are healthy self-esteem. They are willing to face the unknown. They're willing to face it's an unknown, but they're open-minded. They're willing to take the risk. They're willing to accept the challenges, and they are proactive, and they have the guts to ask the questions, and they're ready to accept the mistakes. And most importantly, they take responsibility and they learn from the mistakes. And they also correct their mistakes. Not only learning, they correct and rectify, and they don't repeat. This is a person who has a healthy self-esteem. So they don't feel ashamed for admitting that they have done a mistake. They accept that they have done a mistake, and they are willing to learn from the mistakes. So the shame energy is not there. They don't feel ashamed. So that is a balanced characteristics. And their sense of self is not defined by their external accomplishments. Yes, externally they might have accomplished a lot. They can be a great doctor. They can be a successful engineer, a lawyer, or an accountant. They can accomplish anything externally, but they don't put that as their identity. So they are more their accomplishments, their sense of confidence comes from within, because their respect comes from within. So they have a very strong inner self, inner sense. And some of the questions you need to ask yourself is, how do you feel when you make a mistake? Do you feel shameful, overly apologetic? Are you angry at yourself? Or you are angry at others when somebody else make a mistake? Do you have a desire to improve your mistake? If you have done a mistake, do you have a desire to improve upon it, or you hide it under the carpet? And how you feel when another person makes a mistake? Do you compare? Do you criticize? Do you judge them? So these are the questions you need to ask yourself. If you do all those things, then there's something not correct with your third chakra. And about authority. So how do you feel when some person is in authority? Some people, when somebody is in authority, they give a lot of respect. And for a normal layman, they don't give respect. So their respect towards another person is based on what authority they hold rather than what kind of a human they are. Instead of seeing the quality of a human, they see the titles, they see what kind of authority they have. Are you that kind of a person? And is your job title, position, work more important to you? And what is your measure of success when performing any activity? Are you focused on the outcome? Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, don't focus on the results. Do your best. Do your best and don't focus on the results. So when you are doing your best and not focusing on the results, then you have a very healthy self-esteem. But while you are doing any task, you are focused on the result. So that means your focus is on the outcome rather than on the performance. So this is the question you need to ask. And control and autonomy. So how do you manage people? Are you micromanaging? For example, you have a team of people who have allocated certain departments. So do you let them to handle their own department, or you micromanage? Are you a person who wants everything to be in your control, or you trust people and let them do their own work? Instead of micromanaging, you know, you respect your team members. You have faith in your team members rather than micromanaging. So are you generally proactive or prefer to let others take the lead? When it comes, when the situation demands, do you step up and take charge, or you go behind and let others take charge? So the question is, do you have spine? Do you have guts to stand up to the situation, or you always let others to lead and you are hiding in somebody else? Right? This is the question you need to ask. So physical disorders associated with this chakra is eating disorders, digestive issues, ulcers, diabetes, muscle spasm, muscular disorders, hypertension, fatigue, and gallbladder issues in the gallbladder, liver, and pancreas and stomach area. So these are some of the physical disorders which are associated with the imbalance in the third chakra energy. And what to do when it comes to this chakra? Number one is deep meditation, because unless you meditate, unless you realize yourself, you cannot value yourself, you cannot understand yourself, you cannot respect yourself. And take responsibility for yourself. Understand that we create our own reality. We all create our own realities, and there is no point blaming others. So to take responsibility means you are taking your power back. So your third chakra is all your power center. So taking responsibility means you are acting on your power. So we create our own reality and take responsibility for the self. And rather than uh, focusing on the external accomplishments, focus on the soul qualities. It is your soul qualities which will give you respect rather than external accomplishments. External accomplishments are temporary, but it is your soul qualities which is cherished. So there is an important statement, a beautiful line spoken by Richard Bach, an enlightened master. At any given lifetime, at any given point of time, in any given lifetime, your only obligation is to be true to yourself. The only obligation in any given lifetime is to be true to yourself, not true to others. If you are true to yourself, then you are taking your power in your hands. You are not true to your leader, you are not true to your guru, you are not true to your religion, you are not true to others' expectations. I repeat, the only obligation at any given lifetime is to be true to yourself. So the more you are true to yourself, the more you will have self-respect. Self-respect is an outcome. when you're authentic, when you're truthful to your own self. Even though it creates unease, if you are authentic naturally, it creates unease among the other people. People who are having mask, they don't like the people who are authentic and straightforward. So some trouble is bound to happen. Some external trouble is bound to happen. You might lose your job, or you might lose the support of your good friend who you are considering as very close. It might create a certain relationship issues, but it doesn't matter. You are true to yourself. You're authentic to yourself. You are true to yourself. By understanding, you create your own reality. You are not responsible for another person's reality. Another person is not responsible for your reality. So you take your own life in your own hands. Then you start respecting yourself because you feel your power, you feel your inner power. So when you feel your inner power, and the power is coming from within, the power is not coming from outside. The power which comes from outside is a fake power. But the power which is coming from inside is your own authentic self. And everybody has their own inner power. When you acknowledge that everybody has their own inner power and nobody is less than you and nobody is greater than you, then your ego comes to the rock bottom. In other words, your ego becomes educated. Your ego feels you are special. But when you realize your inner strength, very naturally you'll realize that this is the same inner strength which is there in every person. So then you will start seeing everybody as equal, no less than you, no greater than you. Then you will not have superior complex, then you will not have inferior complex. You start seeing everybody as equal. Before you can start seeing everybody as equal, you need to realize your own strength. Your realization of your strength comes with more and more meditation and more acceptance of the self. The third chakra deals with ego. What is ego? Ego simply is your own identity and what you feel about your identity. Ego is all about what you're identified with and how you feel about your own identity. That is the ego. And a simple definition of ego is equal to ignorance plus arrogance. Okay, what is the ignorance? Ignorance that you have forgotten your true self. You are ignorant about your true self, and rather you got attached to certain identities. You are ignorant about your true potential. So when you are ignorant about your true self, your soulhood, you start having certain identities, certain personalities, certain masks, and you start believing you are that. And there is a certain feeling associated with that identity. That is ignorance. When you are ignorant about your true self, and you end up in arrogance because of your own identities, certain arrogance comes out naturally. You feel you are the best. You feel you are superior. You feel you are great. You feel you are a special one. You feel you are a chosen one. You have come to the planet Earth, special mission. So all those feeling special naturally comes, and eventually you end up being arrogant. And many people think ego is bad, and many people think they should kill their ego to get enlightenment. They should let go of the ego. Actually, that is not correct. You need to educate the ego. That's all. It's a very interesting subject. We'll discuss in detail about it. Let me share some slides. Ego is simple to understand. It is your identity, right? Your own identity. What identity you have taken it for yourself and how you feel about your identity. So that feeling is your ego. The feeling about this I, me, I. your identity, your self-created identity. And what you feel about your identity is your ego. So Jesus Christ is an example of egolessness. When he was walking, and when somebody asked, "Hey Jesus, many people say that you are a great healer, you do great miracles. Who are you?" So the question is, who are you? So he replies, "I'm the Son of God." Because he don't have any identity for himself. He was in an egoless state. So these three statements he will say. He will say, "I am the Son of God." That's the first statement. The second statement, he'll say, "You and me are the same." And the third statement, he will say, "You can do far better things than me." So this is a classic example of how he's not having any identity, but rather he's having his connection with God. He said, "I'm Son of God." No identity. You will eventually reach that state when you become enlightened. It's not only Jesus. Everybody is capable of being in that state. As when you educate the ego, you come into that state. So how did the ego arise in the first place? We say children are God. And how did the ego arise in the first place? When you are born, when you are a small child, you are joyful, you are unconditionally loving, you are in a very happy space. So in your loving space, in your joyful space, there is no ego. So what does that mean? That simply means whenever you are in your heart space, whenever you are in your pure innocent space, then there is no ego. You are connected to your heart space. You are connected to your joyful space. So this is again a statement given by Jesus Christ. Unless you become a childlike, you cannot enter the kingdom of God. When you're there are two eyes. You have to understand there are two eyes. One small eye, another capital I. The small I is the identity you have for yourself in relation to the physical. Right? I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm a CEO, I'm a father, I'm a great businessman, I'm a rich man, I'm a great politician, I'm the president. So this is a small I, which the small I is the identity which comes from outside, the identity which relates to your surroundings and which comes from the outside. That is a small I. And then there is a big I, which is a capital I. The capital I is your soul identity. When you say that I'm pure consciousness, I'm pure energy, that is a capital I. That is a permanent identity, eternal identity, that you are a pure consciousness, you are pure energy, that is eternal. Bodies come and go, minds come and go, lifetimes come and go, but your capital I, that you are a soul, you are pure energy, remains forever. That is a capital I. So the small I comes from your surroundings, your physicality. The capital I comes when you realize your true essence. So as a child, you are egoless. But then, because of the conditioning, the child goes through a lot of conditioning from the parents, from the society, from the teachers. A lot of conditioning. Don't do this, don't do that, you are that, you are this. So that's when the child starts losing the connection with its own self. So until the age of 5, the soul is always connected. The child is always connected to its soul. So that's why the child is always happy until the age of 5. And because of this constant conditioning and programming, there starts the disconnect. The child starts disconnecting from its true essence. So when the child starts disconnecting from its true essence, that's when the false identity comes into the place. The child will take a false identity because the true connection is missing. Now the child goes to the false connections, false identities. Ego, in other terms, is nothing but a false I or a small I. If the child is brought up in a healthy environment, in a very loving environment, then the child has a healthy ego, a healthy personality. But unfortunately, on the planet Earth, most of the children, they grow up in an environment which is not healthy because the parents are not enlightened. If the parents are enlightened, then naturally they know how to bring up the child. But it's okay, we don't blame the parents now. Now it's your responsibility to educate your ego so that you be a better person, you be a better parent. Now, this ego, because it lost connection to its true self. Now, what happens when you lose connection to your true self? Then you start seeking love from others. You start seeking acceptance from others. You start seeking validation from others. You start seeking approval from others. In order to seek love, in order to seek acceptance, in order to seek approval, you become a people pleaser. You end up in manipulation. You lose your authenticity. You cannot be anymore yourself. You are more molded, tuned, programmed to behave in a certain way, which is acceptable to others. And the ego seeks to feel separate from others, special, unique, and individualized. Because the ego is identifying with the physical aspect, the physical existence, then naturally it wants to feel special. Because from the body space, we're all different. From the mind space, we're all different. So this small I will try to achieve, will try to prove so that it feels good. Because there's a lot of emptiness within. The external accomplishments will fill the void because there is a void inside. The void is in the heart space. And because there is void in the heart space, the ego will try to fill the void with the external achievements, accomplishments. That is the false I or the ego, your identity. It can be your achievements, can be your profession, your education. Sometimes the people, they feel so great that I'm the CEO, I'm the general manager, I'm a great businessman. 400 people work under me. So this identity fills their inner void. And also the education. I'm an engineer. I'm a postgraduate. I'm a PhD. You might see certain people who are so identified. If you call their name, they say, no, call doctor because I'm a PhD. Doctorate because they've done their PhD. The very purpose to do the PhD is to get that doctorate degree. They are not interested in research, but they want to be identified as a research scholar, as a doctorate. And if you call them with a normal name, they're offended because they want the doctorate to be in front of their name. And sometimes the social roles, like I'm a mother of 4 children, I'm a father of 2 people, I work hard and I take care of my children. This role, social roles, that father, mother, I'm an elderly person, I'm the in charge of the family, I'm the head of the family. So you start getting identified with the roles as well. Because those roles fill the inner void. Because you are deep down empty. Sometimes the woman, even though they are not ready to be a good mother, because they know they are not happy in their life. Because they're not happy in their life, there is a lot of void inside them. They quickly want to have children. They want to have children because they feel the inner void is complete with the motherhood, with the identity. I've become a mother. They feel complete. A person is ready to become a mother or a person is ready to become a father only when they are in touch with themselves. Only they are happy with themselves. They are totally happy with themselves. There is a lot of joy to share. So they want to invite a new soul so that they can share their joy. But if you are going for children because you are feeling void inside, empty inside, then you end up in wrong parenting. Then you will become an exact carbon copy of your father and mother. And you will pass on those same conditioning and programming. And you will pass on all those traumas to the child. Intentionally, you don't do it, but it happens unconscious. And sometimes, you get identified with your talents and skills. I'm a great musician. I'm a great sports person. So your achievements, your talents, your skills, you get identified, and your accomplishments. Sometimes if you go to people's houses, their office room walls is full of accomplishments, certificates, prizes they have achieved in their life. Because whenever they see that, they feel complete. They feel good. And they want others, whoever enter their office room, they want others to also have the same feeling about them. Because ego is all about what you feel about your identity. And if another person doesn't feel the same way, your ego gets hurt. When somebody says, my ego is hurt, what simply means is whatever they feel about themselves is not validated by another person. When they say, my ego is hurt, you have insulted me. You know who am I? You know what kind of power I have. So you didn't acknowledge it. Now I will show you what I am. Now I will teach you a lesson. So this is ego, that you feel certain things about you. And if the other person doesn't feel the same way that what you feel about you, then there is an ego clash. And some people, they get identified with the physical looks. I'm the most beautiful person. I'm the most handsome person. And some people, they get identified themselves as a healer, as a savior. This we call it as spiritual ego. Actually, as such, there is no physical ego or spiritual ego, but it's just a term to differentiate. When you consider yourself to be a healer, who are you to heal? Everybody heals themselves. You cannot heal anybody. People have to heal themselves. That is a permanent healing. But these healers, yes, they have good intention. They have good intention to help the people, but they get identified with it. I'm a meditation coach. I'm a great healer. I'm a therapist. I've come here to take care of the planet Earth. I've come here to raise the consciousness of the planet Earth. So all these identities are your external. That is a ego. So now ego results in two categories. There are two types of ego: inferior complex and superior complex. And this ego is very vulnerable to outside influences and beliefs. As I told you before, you have a certain feeling about yourself. And if that feeling is very vulnerable, because if the other person doesn't give respect, if the other person doesn't feel the same way about you, then you become totally shaken, is vulnerable. The two types of ego are inferiority complex and superiority complex. The both inferiority complex people and superiority complex people, they both are empty inside. And sometimes the superiority complex, they want to show their power outside because deep down, they are very weak inside. Deep down, they are very inferior. The people who are very inferior deep down, they project superiority. It's like a mask to cover their inferiority. Both are complexes. The inferiority complex person is very ignorant of his true potential. He thinks of himself as very small. So because he thinks himself as very small, because he doesn't know his true self, he is ignorant. And then the superior complex people, he also doesn't know his true self and he becomes arrogant. He thinks he's superior. So both are a complex. So the point to understand is people normally think superior complex people are egoistic. Yeah, they're egoistic in terms of because they have this power, domination, authority. But inferior complex people also, they are stuck in the ego because they think themselves of too small. Their identity is very inferior. Both are a problem. And some of the superior complex behaviors we have seen yesterday. So they are very dominating, controlling. They need to be right. Arrogance and chasing external achievements. They're very competitive and they're very manipulative. And inferiority complex is just the opposite. They don't take responsibility. They are weak-willed person. Their willpower is very, very weak. And they end up as people pleasers, followers. And these people are easily manipulated by others. They have this victim personality. They say, poor me, what can I do? Poor me, I'm helpless. So they have this victim personality. And we have seen the passive aggressive behavior also yesterday, where they don't have the guts to speak up, but passively they will show their mischief. That is passive aggressive. So on this note, we'll end this session. Thank you very much.